and I'm very appreciative to be part of it. I think that it's important to really understand where we want to take the state, and it's important that these policymakers have the tools to come in and, instead of being in reactionary mode, dealing with the crisis of the day, to be able to say, this is where we want our state to go. These are the goals we want to have. How many of you guys would like to see a AAA credit rating again? There's no reason why we don't have a AAA credit rating in the state. Michigan has been down for so long, but this budget that we've put forth is a big first step. I've already been on the phone with the rating agencies in New York talking to them about it. At the earliest opportunity, I'm going to get Governor Snyder out there to New York meeting with them. Now, it's going to take several years, but we're going to get there. And as long as we've got that as a common goal in the legislature, in the governor's office, in the community, we'll be making the right financial decisions as a state. We won't be kicking the can, we won't be using gimmicks to balance the budget, and we'll be moving things forward. And really, hopefully, I believe that we'll be a leader as far as states are concerned. I'll tell you, being the president of the association, I have the opportunity of talking a lot with my counterparts throughout the country. And I've said it before, and I'll say it here tonight, that the budget we have on the table before the legislature, if the key principles are enacted, it will put Michigan on one of the strongest financial footings in the country. But it doesn't end there. It doesn't end there. Because Michigan, we need to get things in economic growth back on track. And we think that getting the budget and the tax system in place, this is something we really feel strongly about. I'll tell you, there are many times we come out and put a budget out. I've been involved with many budgets. And there's always that piece that you don't hope the reporters don't ask about. You know, or you hope the people don't ask about because you can't defend it. I'll tell you, every piece of this budget we put out, not only have I defended it, I can. And it's not an issue to say it's not an easy budget. It's not an easy budget. It's a very difficult budget, but it's a budget that's going to be worthwhile in the long run of where we're headed as a state. Michigan's was the only state in the last 10 years to lose population. That's not good for long-term economic growth, and we need to right that trend. But there are some key fundamental processes that we need to do and that we need to accomplish to be able to get there. And I think that by working together we can do that. Now I want you to know it's nice for us to get outside of Lansing. It's nice to hear from you. We don't have all the answers in the Capitol or in the Romney building. This is really going to take a partnership from all of you. This is really going to take a lot of work and a lot of understanding that it's going to be worth making that first step to move forward. I mean, I'm delighted, Congressman, to hear that the federal government is moving in the same direction. It's going to take a little bit longer to get a balanced budget there, but we're moving in the right direction. I'll tell you what, when people ask me, you know, the main difference, obviously, as you know, most states have to have a balanced budget. But I always say we get to have a balanced budget because it's the right thing to do. And as these cuts in Washington are going to be tough, and you know, the cuts we're passing out of the state legislature, they're passing out of the state legislature, and we are from the governor's office, are going to be tough for the state. But as these federal cuts come through, they're going to be tough as well for the country. But certainly, it's time that the policymakers step up, take control of the situation, and get the state and the country back on solid footing. And really, that starts with all of you folks right here in this room. And so I'd really like to thank you for the great work that you do at the grassroots level and at the local level. Because sometimes you guys don't see how your work translates into what we're doing up there. But I want you to know it's critical. It's critical. I had other opportunities. I had a big state out there on the West Coast that called me, and the guy who was working with one of the candidates there who was unsuccessful said, if this candidate wins, we'll be looking for a new budget director. Would you be interested in throwing your name in that hat? And I said no. I really thought about it for a minute, and I said no, I really wouldn't. It's a bigger state than Michigan. In fact, I think it's the biggest in the country. But I said the environment is not right. What's special here in Michigan is the people have stepped up. I said, we're done with what's been going on. We want change. And every person I've talked to, as I was determining whether I'd bring my family out to this great state, everybody I talked to believed in the future of Michigan, which is not the case in many states. I left a great state in Utah. I brought my 6 wonderful kids out to Michigan. And we came a long way just for the opportunity to be part of something special. And that something special is something you guys started with the last election. And I've got to tell you that your legislators are phenomenal. Representative Kurtz here, he asked me, continually invites me to Bible study on Wednesday mornings. They have a special study. And I think that's important. And in fact, Speaker Bolger called me, and I could hardly hear what he said. I picked up about every other word because he is very sick. But after he found out I was going to come down and speak, he called me to thank me. And he said, please send them my regards. And he said, please let them know that Representative Kurtz is the dean of our caucus. He's our spiritual leader. And I'll tell you, that's important right now. That's important right now, especially there in Lansing. And Senator Caswell, this guy's great. You know, I've had the opportunity of meeting with him several times. In fact, he was one of the first senators that I met with. I went over to his office, and he's got a lot of experience with human services and with community health. And certainly, that's the big animal in our budget and where we're headed. And he's got some phenomenal ideas, and every time I go in there, I get a whole new list of areas that we can look at. And I get excited about going back and reviewing them. But I want you to know there's a great partnership between the governor's office and the legislature. We have our differences. You know, as Senator Caswell said, he agrees with a good chunk of what the governor says, and we agree with a good chunk of the legislature says. We're not quite 100% there, but it's a cooperative environment, and that's going to be a real blessing to this state moving forward. I'm appreciative of being here. I am grateful for the opportunity to come down, and it's good for me to get outside of Lansing and to meet the people. And I do intend to do that this summer as I get around, and I'm just excited to see some of the finer parts of Michigan. My wife can't wait to get me up to Interlochen up in Traverse City. So, and then people have said, you've got to get up to Mackinac Island. You know, Lansing is not the best of Michigan. So anyhow, with that, I'll just close again thanking you and expressing my appreciation to you as taxpayers.
John, I don't agree with my wife 100% of the time.
You don't I agree with mine all the time. But I just want to close by letting you know that